We've all heard the story. An ancient, utopian civilization, rich beyond measure and highly advanced, swallowed whole by the sea, now resting in the dark. For centuries, explorers have poured vast fortunes into finding it. They have scoured the Mediterranean coasts and charted the deepest stretches of the Atlantic Ocean, convinced the ruins are out there. But even with today's deep-sea sonar and advanced submersibles mapping the ocean floor, we have found absolutely zero physical evidence of this empire, not a single coin, brick, or weapon. When thousands of years of searching turn up completely empty, it suggests an obvious conclusion. Humanity has spent all this time looking in the wrong place entirely. Solving the mystery of where this empire went requires shifting our focus from the seabed to the only surviving map we possess. The entire concept traces back to a single source, the writings of the Greek philosopher Plato, who first detailed the story over 2,300 years ago. Analyzing the specific parameters within Plato's document reveals whether Atlantis was a sunken reality or a piece of philosophical fiction. Plato gave specific geographical coordinates. He claimed the empire sat just beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the landmass we know today as the Strait of Gibraltar. According to his texts, the society was incredibly prosperous. They engineered vast canal systems, constructed grand temples, and commanded a fleet of ships that dominated the ancient oceans. But that massive accumulation of wealth eventually corrupted the citizens. The rulers traded their civic virtue for greed, attempting to conquer neighboring lands and expand their empire by force. According to the text, that exact pivot from a noble society to an arrogant imperialist power is what triggered their ultimate punishment. Without any warning, violent, massive earthquakes began ripping through the island, completely shattering the foundations of their grand temples. Following the tremors, massive tsunamis crashed across the shores, drowning the sprawling canals and palaces under millions of gallons of water. The ground completely split open, and the entire landmass was dragged into the abyss. The text is very clear that the entire destruction was completed in exactly 1 day and 1 night, leaving absolutely zero survivors behind. That description of destruction is so clinically specific that modern historians have to wonder if Plato was drawing on a real historical geological trauma rather than just making it up. Researchers point to a real catastrophic volcanic eruption that actually happened in the Mediterranean as the likely inspiration for the myth. Thousands of years ago, the Greek island of Santorini was home to a highly sophisticated, thriving ancient culture. Excavations at a site called Akrotiri reveal complex stone walls, multi-story buildings, and advanced pottery belonging to a society completely buried by volcanic ash. When an island is blown apart and coastlines swallowed by tsunamis, survivors pass the trauma down. Over centuries of oral retelling, the real event grows into an exaggerated myth. Eventually, this legendary story reached Athens, where Plato adapted it. Plato used a real-world disaster as a blueprint, layering on a hyper-advanced utopian civilization as a deliberate exaggeration. Modern academics view Plato's work as a moral allegory rather than a literal geographical record. He engineered this fictional empire specifically to serve as a philosophical mirror, meant to contrast directly against the political climate of his own home city of Athens. The text was designed as a harsh warning to his peers. He wanted to show that unchecked arrogance, greed, and the misuse of power will inevitably rot a society from the inside out. The island's physical destruction functioned as a representation of a society's internal moral rot. That means the true significance of this legendary empire is that it was never meant to be discovered by archaeologists or deep-sea submersibles. While adventurers have spent lifetimes chasing after physical gold at the bottom of the ocean, the actual value of the story has been sitting in plain sight for 2 millennia. It leaves us with a stark reality. No society, no matter how wealthy, heavily armed, or technologically advanced, is immune to total collapse if it loses its moral compass. The story achieved its goal by outliving any city of stone, surviving instead as a persistent warning that power without virtue is unsustainable.